I came up with a very, very clever way of actually going out there. This is very common in the business world. Everyone from Coca-Cola to McDonald's, everyone uses this system. Google's mastered it, and that is
Jordan, welcome to the show, and we're excited to have you.
I'm excited, man. I just can't wait to start speaking in person again with everybody. This is, it's driving me crazy already. I love talking publicly, but listen, this is the next best thing. So, I'm love to answer any questions that you have, and I'm excited to be here.
I want to take everybody back for a second, Jordan. Here, when I first started in the industry 7 years ago, when I started my company, I was failing pretty bad in sales. And I had a gentleman by the name Marty the Machine, an ex-Wall Street guy, goes, listen, you got to get some sales training. And you got to look up this guy, Jordan Belfort. He was king on Wall Street, the Wolf of Wall Street. And you got to get a sales system. And I would first start, and I was like, oh, man, I looked him up. This is before the movie. I look him up. I'm like, oh, it's $2,000. It's all the money in the world to me at the time. I lock myself in for the weekend. I start studying the sales, and I start writing out stuff I learned in a thing. And I remember going into a 4Life group that was worth $2,000 at the time and going, I'm not leaving till I close this thing. And I had your lines written word for word, and I wasn't leaving. And I walked out with this small sale, and I did 7 times the revenue the next year as I did the prior year after studying the sales system.
Yes,
so, it's an incredible story. We're super excited. That's why we chose you to come speak at the event, because of what I think of people learning the straight line, Jordan, that, they're going to be able to 10X their sales if they really take it to the next level and study it. We're going to give them a little taste of what they're going to get in August at the event, High Stakes Advising out in California. If you haven't, check it out. It's August 3rd and 4th. But my first question here, Jordan, it's the same thing. What was it that you discovered about human nature that allowed you to give confidence to total strangers to send you millions of dollars to buy a stock they never heard of, from a broker they never heard of, from a company they never heard of? And does that insight translate over to other services like purchasing health insurance and other services?
The answer is absolutely yes. And in fact, my new business now, I've been training salesmen for for myself, 30 something years, as crazy as that sound, oh my God, 37 years I've been training salespeople, right? But then around the world for the last, 12, right? And the answer is it applies to every industry you can think of. I taught the straight line system and that philosophy. So you said something very interesting here. You said, how did they get you to essentially, how did you get people to buy a stock they never heard of, from a person never heard of, from a company never heard of, right? Good thing. Well, in fact, I couldn't do that. It turned out to be a bit too difficult, even for me, the world's greatest salesperson, seriously. And when I tried that, I had very little luck. But what I did is it made me realize that the problem I was having was precisely what you said. Before I started my own firm, before I went into trying to sell $5 stocks to the richest 1%, I worked at LF Rothschild. Now, I watched at LF Rothschild, the Rothschild Bank, which is a bank that everyone has heard of. And the first stock they were recommending was Eastman Kodak, which was a stock that everyone heard of. So all that was missing was a broker they never heard of. So you had one thing working against you, two working in your favor. When I tried that same thing at Stratton, it was a company they never heard of, wasn't Rothschild. I was trying to sell a $5 stock they never heard of, and they never heard of me. 3 strikes and you're out. It was that actual struggle I had that led to the creation of the straight line system. When I realized that even myself trying to do those 2 things couldn't close, I came up with a very, very clever way of actually going out there. This is very common in the business world. Everyone from Coca-Cola to McDonald's, everyone uses the system. Google's mastered it, and that is Essentially, you have what's called a loss leader strategy. The first product you sell someone is not necessarily the one that you make the money on. And I'd rather sell someone something they already are familiar with a low barrier to entry. And then also explain my company in a way that if they haven't heard of it, I explain a reason why they never heard of it. Like, you probably haven't heard of my company because for the last X number of years, we've been strictly dealing with this group. So there's a reason why. So essentially what happened was I came up with this idea like, wow, these three core elements must line up in every prospect's mind before they say yes. Number one, they must love the product. They must really feel that it's the best fit for them. Number two, they must trust and connect with the salesperson that's presenting the product. And number three, they must trust and connect with the company that stands behind the product. In the case of insurance, well, what is it? Number one, the product is the life insurance itself, right? Or whatever health insurance, life insurance. Now, by and part, most people think when they walk into a sale, they get it. Insurance is a good thing. That's probably not your biggest problem when you're selling insurance. People need insurance, they need health insurance, they need life insurance. The question is, why is yours better?
Yeah, why am I going to fire the current broker that I'm married to and hire you?
Correct. So, but remember this, very often with insurance, I just got finished training and I actually recruit salespeople for large companies. Now we actually do the recruiting as well and deliver trained salespeople. So he actually goes back a step. So I'm training a bunch of people who are about to start a large insurance company. And let me just tell you, I wrote the script for the company because they paid me, right? And the basis is not so much about the insurance policy. It's all the other things you can do for them besides this one transaction. We're experts at what we do. We know insurance better than anybody. And with certain types of insurance, it's not just about, hey, this is what you can use in case something goes wrong. Also, having the policy written the right way allows you to grow. It allows you to get into certain relationships with other people. So there's much more to insurance than meets the eye. When you're trying to sell insurance, you're not just selling that policy. You're selling, yes, of course, your policy is the best fit. It makes sense. It's cost effective. It's best of breed. But also what you can do for them besides this one transaction over the long term in terms of the customer service that you'll give. Any other types of insurance, you refer them to people. You're there to help them grow their business, to feel less pain, to empower them to make more money. So that's a huge issue when you're selling insurance. So when you're using the straight line system, what we're doing is we're corralling all those three things together. We're showing someone how to go step by step by step to get someone to understand. And the prospect, number one, they're like, wow, this is a great product. I get it. It makes the most sense. It's the best fit, best cost benefit ratio, best value proposition. Number two, this is a salesperson that I want in my life. This person is on the ball, they're sharp, they're an expert, they're gonna help me not just solve this problem, but be there as an asset to myself and my business for both the short and long term. They could do much more for me than besides this one transaction. And number three, whichever company stands behind the salesman, the insurance company itself is one of the most reputable out there. They have, whatever those benefits are and what the profile is of that company, you're actually selling all three of those at the same time. And when you get someone to a very high level of certainty, meaning a prospect to a very high level of certainty for all of those things, you're going to close them.
How important is it to continue as a salesperson? We have a little minor success as a salesperson, but how important is it to continue sharpening those skills and staying up to date over and over as a salesperson in the industry?
Well, I as a salesperson, you never stop learning, you never stop growing, you never stop sharpening your skills. So at every firm I've ever owned, any company I've trained, I've always had to institute daily and weekly trainings and retrainings. And, there's always two sides to this. There's the skills training in terms of, your ability to close, all the things you have to know how to close a sale. There's also product knowledge, understanding the newest products, being able to talk to people, not just about your own product, but what's happening in the business world. People, they can tell your prospects when they're dealing with an expert and when they're not. And you need to be able to talk the talk and also walk that walk. It's two sides of the equation. And then also there's something else I haven't talked about yet, which is the mindset of sales success. There's a certain success mindset that is crucial in the life of a salesperson. The ability to manage your emotional state, your belief systems, your standards, what's your vision for the future, what goals have you set that support that vision. So these are all the things you want to keep brushing up on a daily basis.
Yeah, talk to some of us out here, and we want to bring this insight of the straight line. And if you haven't, check out, everybody attending High Stakes Advising is getting a copy of The Way of the Wolf, which is about the straight line system here. Maybe some of the guys listening, I spoke to a couple of them thinking about coming to the event, and they're saying, I've been out of the game for a while, John, I don't know. And I'm telling them, listen, you can make a comeback. You did it before. It's not rocket science. You just got to relearn your craft and get your skills sharpened.
There's two sides to selling everything. You can sell insurance, stocks, refrigerators, you can be selling logistics service. It doesn't matter what you're selling, pharmaceuticals, right? There's number one, there's your skills as a salesperson, your ability to get someone to feel very certain about those three things. They love the product, trust you, trust the company that stands behind the product. That's the sales part. Secondly, there's, again, keeping up on the latest things in products with your industry. This is something that's very easy to do. It's not difficult, and you do it in your spare time. You become a student of the game. I believe, here's what I say. I say the key, you have to sound like an expert, and you need to act as if. Act as if you have the answers, and the answers will come to you. Act as if you're an expert, you'll become an expert. Now, I don't mean you should bullshit people. What I'm saying is you act like an expert, and then you better be running really fast to close that knowledge gap. Become an expert. But I can promise you this, if you are an expert and you use the straight line, which will allow you to then show people your expertise, you'll make a ton of money. You have to do both. You want to study how to close and also become an expert in your field.
Yeah, and being an expert in today's world, as you know, is so important. We talk about it all the time in our group, but they have to convey that message. Would you agree? Being an expert in the product selling it is different, right? Conveying that message through the straight line is really where the rubber meets the road, because if they're talking about different acronyms or whatever that we use in this industry, and we can't convey that message, you're not selling. Because I remember when I fell into that trap of all the new shiny objects, and I didn't close shit for 6 months.
Yeah. Well, the key is that, there's, again, the key to success in selling is you need to sound like an expert. I know a lot of people who sound like experts, but the way in which they're doing it breaks rapport and doesn't allow them to transfer certainty. In other words, what's happening is when you show up to a sales encounter with anybody selling anything, you yourself need to be feeling absolutely certain about the value of your product, that it's the best fit for the prospect. You're certain about your own abilities, about your company. Then your prospect is not quite as certain. They don't know they don't know all the wonderful things you know about your product. The purpose of the sale is for you to explain to them all the features, benefits, the things that separate your product, make it the best, make you the best, make your company the best, to transfer that certainty you're feeling to the prospect so they become certain. When they become certain, they start to buy. So the straight line system, what it does, it shows you how to transfer the certainty that you're feeling. How do you convey that in a way to someone else that doesn't break rapport, that gets them incredibly certain so they want to buy? That's the secret.
And these guys, you took guys, I remember watching a movie, reading the books and the early stories, is you took guys off the street, turned them into closers. Talk for a minute about how this changed their life, the way they lived, where they were before and where they are now, learning the straight line and be able to close anybody that's closable. Not everybody's closable, right? That's who's closable.
The straight line.
Well, according to Grant Cardone, they are, but that's another story.
Yeah, boy. So anyway, yeah. So I'll give you an example. Right now, about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, I made a shift in my business. I started not just training, I started actually recruiting. So companies say, hey, I'd like 50 salespeople. I want them delivered on X date. So what do? Well, I go out and find, so I do two parts. A, I have a massive recruiting company that goes out and identifies salespeople, both experienced and experienced, right? But rather than delivering them to a company, first I put them through a boot camp and I train them in how to sound like experts. I train them in the straight line so they show up to the job the first day trained. So they don't have a terrible first 6 months and they have this massive attrition rate you have in industries, right? So I've been able to eliminate attrition and increase first year job performance. And here's the thing, those skills that the salesperson learns, they last a lifetime. They translate to everything. It's not just you learn how to sell insurance or anything else. Once you learn how to look at it like a communication strategy, it's the ability to communicate your ideas, your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams in a way that is interesting to other people, engages them, and also makes them agree with you. The problem, what happens with most insurance companies, I've trained many, many insurance companies, and I have so many top producers that have gone through my system that are in insurance companies. The ones now that use me to recruit their salespeople, what they find is this. The problem is that people show up for the job and literally don't know how to do it. They don't know how to close. So they have a bad experience the first 3 or 4 months. Some, like you, are lucky or really determined, and you just say,
yeah, listen, after it took me 9-10 months.
You found my system, and then all of a sudden, bam, right, you saw. Well, imagine if you would have learned my system before you started your job. All of a sudden, the average person now, instead of starting and quitting, now doesn't quit. I look at sales as like the single most important skill in life, just because it's about communication. It's not just for closing a deal. Yes, that puts money in your pocket, but it's just moving through life in an empowered way. To me, it's just a no-brainer.
Got it. I know you got to jump here, so I'm cognizant of the time. What do you say to some people that are on the fence with this whole Corona lie going on that are thinking about coming to the event in August here?
Listen, I've been a staunch opponent of lockdowns, and I think, listen, coronavirus is real. There's a virus. The virus is very dangerous for older people. So if you're older, you're 75 years old, or you have immune compromise, then stay home, stay safe. And you should really be careful and wait for a vaccine to come around or some treatment. But if you're not in that age group, I'd almost rather get it at this point. Seriously, no, I don't want to get it, but good Lord. I mean, come on. There's a million other things that we could die from every day or get sick from. People don't stay home because of the flu. It's no more dangerous than the flu for people below the age of 60. Once over 60, well, I'm 57. I'm very healthy. And my immune system is as solid as a rock. I don't worry. If I got it, I'll get sick. My kids have all had it. My kids have gotten coronavirus. They were sick for 2 days. They're better. Now they're immune. So what's the point? To live in fear and to cower, to me, that's not living at all. So I say be very, very careful if you're older or if you have an immune compromised situation, or if you can't isolate yourself from someone who's older. Because I have a friend who's got a grandma that lives in his house, and he needs to stay safe because he can't afford to give it to someone who's older. But if that's not your situation, come on, live your life. Don't run around like, I remember there's a great meme out there with our forefathers, the greatest generation, storming the beaches of Normandy, facing certain death, rifles out while they're getting sprayed by machine gun fire by the Nazis, and just certain death. And then you see people today like cowering behind the chair, like, yuppies, like, oh, I'm gonna get corona. Come on, stop it. Really, if you're not in that high risk group, the statistics bear out the fact that you need to go out and live your life, or you're just literally not living at all. That's my advice.
Well, you heard it from the Wolf, guys. August 3rd and 4th here in Costa Mesa, California. Check out Heads Up Advisor website to sign up for the event. Coupon code till midnight, 400 off. Wolf, WOF. Jordan, listen, thanks so much for joining us. We can't wait to have you at the event in August, and it's going to be a fun one, guys. Come out, 10x your sales next year. Get ready to the fourth quarter. Come out of Corona on fire with a new sales system and live a better life. Jordan, thanks again, man.
Take care, pal. Good luck.
Take care.